What's going on, everybody? We're back for another Acceptable Casualties Battle Report. Today we got 400 points of Overlord. Today we'll be doing American Infantry against Grenadiers. We'll be back in a second to go over list and deployment. So here we have our 400 points of Germans that Vin's going to be bringing to the table today. He has his forward HQ, a platoon of Grenadiers, all of the rifle teams, those are the 5-man bases, and the command base, the platoon command base. They're going to be having Panzerfausts. In support, Vin brought a Pack 40, a unit of 3 Stugs. And then Vin, what is your off-table stuff that you brought? You brought a roadblock.
With like 105 off-table plus a 105 time barrage.
Okay, and those are your 2 off-table?
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, Vin's battle rating is what, 25 or 24?
25.
25 for this, and I think he's like just came in just under 400 points. We'll be back in a second to look over Scott's American list. So here we have Scott's 399 points of American Infantry Division. Up here we have Scott's forward HQ. He has a forward air controller as well. Then he also has an M10 scout car, M20 scout car. He has, what is it, M10 over here. He has 2 timed airstrikes coming in, P-47s. There's also a sniper that's over here. Down here he has 1 full rifle platoon, so there is the platoon command, a bazooka team. These are the 3 full squads, so they're going to break up into bar and rifle teams. Over here he has a medium machine gun team with a 3-man loader. Above them, there's engineers. They're going to be loaded up with the BAR, bazooka, flamethrower, minesweeper, 2 demo charges. They're fully loaded out. And then Scott brought in the Sherman with the bulldozer on the front of it. So that's going to be pretty fun because Vin did bring a roadblock. So we're actually going to get a little bit of use today. So this is what we're looking at right here for 399, battle rating of 30. We'll be back in a second to go over the mission and deployment. Alright, so we are back for deployment. The mission that we're going to be doing today is going to be delaying action. Vin's going to be doing the defending. Scott's going to be doing the attacking. For those guys who don't know, I think this one only goes 9 turns instead of 12. Scott has to take his Americans and kind of push them through the town and then get them off the back table edge. For every 3 units he gets off the back table edge, Vin has to pull a chit. It's mostly an infantry list that Scott has, so you probably won't see a ton of it. But that's just got to be the rules for the mission. For Vin, he has to obviously hold Scott, delay him as much as possible. The issue with Vin is he actually rolled pretty good for deployment, got half of his forces on the table. But for his reserve, starting turn 2, he needs a 5 up to even have the attempt to then roll for reserve. So Vin's reserve is going to be coming in sporadically throughout the game. It won't be like a steady thing coming in. So Vin might have to hold off for a couple turns if the dice gods are playing in his favor. But for Vin's deployment right here, Vin's going to have rifle and MG teams in this entire run of buildings right here, and everybody is in ambush. Vin ended up rolling pretty good for his ambush stats. There's a Stug right there that's going to be staring down this road over here, kind of watching the open fields up over here. Vin also has, is it a rifle or MG team that you had in there, Vin?
That's the sergeant for the platoon.
Okay, so that's our platoon command's going to be in that that hotel right there, holding over there. Then Vin also has another Stug tucked away back here. For the objectives for this mission, Town Square is going to be 1 objective, Hotel is going to be the 2nd, and then the farmhouse going out of town is going to be the 3rd objective. So this is kind of the deployment and mission scenario. Scott's going to be coming off this table edge over here. For turn 1, he has 2 recce units, and then he has D6 other units that are going to be coming on the table with them. So top of turn 1 for the Americans coming up. Back in a flash. So we're back for top of turn 1. Scott got some of his Yanks on the table. So for this one, he rolled 4 reserves to come on for turn 1, and he has 2 recce units. He ended up rolling 7 orders to round it all out. So for his reserves, he brought in 2 squads with the rifle squad and BAR. So it's 4 altogether. They ended up pushing them up 10, and 2 were in the woods here, 2 are behind the woods there. For his recce teams that were on the table, he pushed up his scout through deployment up to here. Vin did pop an ambush from the 2nd floor over there, but failed to observe. He needed 6s to pick these guys out. I think he rolled like a 3 and a 4. And then the M20 scout car deployed back over here and then shot up around and was able to avoid any kind of ambush fire coming through right there. Vin was also out scouted in this mission 2-0, so Vin did have to pull its shit. And for once, it was nothing fancy. I think that's because he's not playing me right now. So that's what we're looking at here for top of turn 1. We'll be back in a second for bottom turn 1 for the Germans. So we are back for bottom of turn 1 for the Germans. For this turn, a little positioning. Vin got a little aggressive with the tank. So the tank that was previously back here, Vin ended up pushing up to this position. You had 10 orders as well, so Vin was able to use everybody. So yeah, the Stug that was back there, Vin rolled up the street and then positioned him back here behind the tree. I think to kind of watch this M20, see if he's going to do anything at this point. Then with the Stug that was there in ambush, Vin decided to drive up and help protect the entryway here to the hotel through the field, kind of give a clean lane over there for any of the reserves coming in through those wheat fields in the back. Back over here as well, I think there's a unit that shot previously. They tried to fire down at the sniper again, but failed to observe, and then Vin kind of just held steady with everybody else. Vin also tried to drop a barrage over here. He ended up wild scattering off the table, so that didn't end up working out. So that's all that happened here for the bottom of turn 1 for the Germans. We'll be back in a second for Americans, turn 2. So we are back for top of turn 2 for the Americans. Scott ended up getting 2 reserves on for this turn, and he ended up rolling like 15 orders after you factor in officers. So for this turn, Scott ended up bringing on his engineers that are right here, and he brought in the M10 tucked over here, kept them away from the Stug on that side, and just kind of pushed these guys up into the woods over here to keep them safe. The infantry teams that were in here, the BAR and rifle section, were pushed up over here, making a move on this side of the table, which is kind of open at this point. The M20 ended up pushing up a little bit around there as well, kind of get a little better position maybe for next turn. Up over here, the 2 rifle teams moved into the middle of the woods. We're considering them, they're out of view. They're in the middle of the woods right now. And then the sniper moved up to the edge and tried to observe Vin's forward HQ to maybe pluck him out, get a lucky shot for some chip pulls, but failed to observe right there. But he's still sitting here down on the lip right now. And that's all that happened here for the top of turn 2. We'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 2 for the Grenadiers. We are back for bottom of turn 2 for the Germans, and Vin made it rain. Good God. So Vin ended up getting, failed his reserve order. He ended up getting 10 orders in total?
Yeah.
Right? Or 8 or 10 or whatever it was. So Vin also had his time barrage, which was spotted in for right here. And as you can see, things went pretty well. Vin had a boatload of dice. It was 2 guns, or was it 4 guns?
4 guns.
It was 4 guns, so it was 8 dice. Vin ended up rolling like 3 6s, a whole bunch of pinning tests. He ended up blowing up the 5-man BAR team and just killed them outright. And then there was 2 wounds that were done on these guys on the main rifle squad and pinned them. So that was pretty devastating bombardment right over here. And then Vin used his off-table 105, just regular artillery guns, to end up scattering over right here. And it was enough to pin the engineers, the M10, this rifle team in the front, BAR team in the back. Just pinned everybody over here. Then the Stug moved up around the side over there, fired down, was actually able to kill one of the guys from the BAR team, and they're pinned as well. And then there was some fire, small arms fire, that came down to try to hit the sniper again, but they failed to observe. So at the end of turn 2 right now, the only people that are active for the Americans are the M20 and the sniper at this point. But Scott does have reserves coming in. If he does pull a shit for some of those guys, it'll be worthwhile, because you're going to get, there's what, 5 units here that are pinned. So we'll see how that plays out. Top of turn 3 for the Americans. We are back for the top of turn 3. So for this turn, Scott ended up rolling 1 reserve on the table, and I believe it was 10 orders, right? You rolled a 6, and then there was a +4. It was enough to use 3 people. So he ended up bringing on this medium machine gun team with the 3 loaders to the edge of the grass, the tall grass over here. The M20 pushed around over here and fired up at Vin's HQ up there. Was able to kill one of the staff members as they fell out the window and landed splat on the street over there. But Vin ended up passing his morale, so they are not pinned, but they're down to 2 men. The sniper down here also fired up into there twice. Scott was able to observe twice, but failed to hit. Could have probably taken out the forward HQ. It was pretty big. So they ended up going on, and then Scott had no other active units, decided to pull a chit. And he ended up rolling a 6 to unpin every unit on the table. So the Americans are back in the fight again. They're completely active. We'll see what happens here going into the bottom of turn 3 for the Germans. If Vin gets some reserves on the table, do a little support here. We'll see how it plays out. So we'll be back in a second. So we are back for bottom of turn 3 for the Germans. For this turn, Vin failed to get reserves again, but you ended up getting how many orders? Enough to activate everybody, right? There's enough to activate everybody. So for this turn, Vin ended up dropping a bombardment here that scattered to this point. Vin got 1 direct hit on the machine gun team that did 2 kills, but they ended up passing their morale to stay in the fight. Well, to stay unpinned. And then Vin had an attempt to also pin these guys back here with that same barrage, but failed to do so. The Stug that was previously over here swung around to meet that M20. Vin got within 5 inches, needed a 4, rolled a 3, so an AP round kind of whipped by the scout car over here. Vin then pushed up his Stug on the other flank, attempted to fire some more machine gun fire down here, failed to observe. And then the row of buildings up here that have all the rifle machine gun teams as well as the platoon squad in there, platoon command squad, they tried to fire down here and do some damage into the sniper. They were able to kill the spotter, but they're still unpinned and in the fight over there. And then I think, was it Vin, these guys over here with the machine gun? They tried to pin the... They tried to pin the M20, and they failed to do so on that. So going into the top turn 4, Americans are in pretty good shape. Everybody's active right now. They got some reserves coming on, so we'll see if they can make a big push here. I'll be back in a flash. So we're back for top of turn 4 for the Americans. We got a pretty aggressive push here by Scott. So for reserves, would you get 3? Right, 3 units on, and then he ended up rolling off orders to activate everybody. So on this flank down here, that what you see right there is the BAR team and rifle team. They were pushed in off the table edge, and they came over here from reserve. Down there, you got the Sherman bulldozer pushed up to the edge of the tall grass down there. Tried to fire into the side of the Stug. I think they needed a 5, and they ended up rolling a 4, so kind of just whizzed over the top over there. Down here, you had the medium machine gun team. Move from their position over there so they can fire into the forward HQs in that building down there, doing all the spotting for that already. The sniper fired down there as well, but they failed to get any hits to kind of suppress that forward HQ over there. The rifle team that was up here, they ended up pushing up to the fence line right there to make a move into the orchard sitting here in the middle of town. On this flank over here, engineers pushed up, the M10 pushed up, and the BAR and rifle squad moved into the woods right there. You can see the little M20 over here. He tried to fire into the forward HQ over there, failed to do anything, and then kind of scoot out of the front arc of that Stug right there. We'll see how that kind of plays out next turn. We go 1 or 2 ways. So we'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 4 for the Germans. Some reserves for Vin would be pretty nice here. We'll see if he can get the dice to work in his favor. So we'll be back in a flash. So we are back for bottom of turn 4 for the Germans. Vin's artillery just keeps going to work. So for this turn, Vin failed his reserves once again, but had enough of orders to activate everybody. So as you can see, the engineer team, they got blasted. So what ended up happening was Vin had his... bombardment placed right here. It ended up scattering 10, landed right on the platoon. Out of the 4 dice, Vin was able to get pin attempt on these guys, but they passed. Was able to pin the M10, and these guys down here, they took what, 4 casualties, 5 casualties. 4. Oh, 4. Okay, 4 casualties, and then are pinned as well. So yeah, they didn't have a good day with that. The Stug that was over here, he threw it in reverse. And then Vin fired down to try to hit the M20 over there, but he ended up missing on that as well. Up over here, all the rifle fire from all these buildings, well, these 3 buildings, as well as platoon command over there, fired down. They're able to knock these guys down to 2, but they're still up and in the fight, and they were able to kill the sniper over here. And then the Stug that was there, Vin wheeled him around, pushed him to there, needed a 2 to observe, ended up rolling a 1, so the Sherman's going to be just staring him down. We'll see how this one works out over the next turn or 2. So that's what we're looking at right now for the bottom of turn 4, coming back, top of turn 5. Well, I'm not going to ruin it. We'll see how this thing plays out when we get back. We are back for top of turn 5 for the Yanks. The bird came in. This is Scott's first timed airstrike. He had 4 small bombs with the P-47. As you can see, he scored 2 direct hits out of the 4 dice and just blew that Stug to hell and really didn't stand a chance as far as how that thing played out.
Picked a good spot to go.
Yeah, it worked out. I think it was the only unit within 10 inches. I think it was like 9 or something like that. So yeah, the Stug took the brunt of it. For the rest of the turn, Scott was able to get 3 of his reserves on, and how many orders did you have? You have enough to activate everybody but 2 units or 3 units, right?
Yeah, 9.
Yeah, nine orders. So on this flank over here, with the Stug out of the fight, the infantry teams that were in here pushed up into the building. We just placed them for ease. They're on the street there, but they're actually on the first floor down here. They pushed in. The Greyhound pushed in. They all fired rounds into that forward HQ to try to silence that artillery. The rifle teams missed, but the M20 was able to get in there, observe, but failed to register any hits on the actual firing. So that was unfortunate for the Yanks over there. Down here, like I said, this is another BAR and rifle section that are on that base right there. They moved out of the woods and they're pushing up around the side over here. Down over here, you had the machine gun tried to fire, failed to observe into the forward HQ over there. The 2-man team that was here has fallen back into the woods. They're tripping over some bodies, but they're in a pretty good spot over there as it sits right now. Back up here, the Sherman failed to observe on 2 attempts on the Stug, so I don't know how this is going to play out. So they're just kind of staring each other down at medium range over there. The bazooka team came in out of reserves. They're up along the high grass right there, waiting to strike next turn. And then along the back, you have platoon command that came in off reserve, and then you have forward HQ down here that came in from reserve as well. So that's what we're looking at right now for top of turn 5. Vin, you're gonna need some reserves, I think, pretty soon. Oh, yeah. This might get rolled up on one of the flanks. So we'll see how this plays out. We're coming back for bottom of turn 5 for the Jerrys. Maybe Vin can get some support coming in. We'll be back in a flash. So we are back for the bottom of turn 5. For Vin this turn, he ended up getting his reserves on, and he got everybody. So it's a full second wave coming in off the back tablage over here. And then for orders, what did you get for orders, Vin? 11. So it's pretty much enough to activate most people in here. So for this turn, Vin drove the Stug up out of reserve over there. He had to push up his Pack 40, so they're going to slowly get into the fight over here. And then his rifle, machine gun, and two machine gun teams are pushing up on the road on that side over there. Down over here, Vin tried to drop his bombardment there, scattered over to here, and then failed to do anything. I think, did they pin the rifle team?
Yes.
Yeah,
so the rifle team did get pinned, and then through some other small arms fire from the buildings over here, the BAR team was able to get pinned as well. So both teams that were in here are now pinned. As you can see, there's guys in the middle of the road right here. Vin had a Faust, decided to run down, needed a 4 to hit the M20, ended up missing, shot it over the top. So they're kind of exposed right now as they sit. The platoon command that was in there, they have now pushed up and they are along the fence over there trying to help support the Stug over here, because the Stug failed to hit the Sherman over there. Observed twice but needed 3s because they're obscured in the grass, so both shots ended up just flying over the top of the Sherman over there. And that's pretty much the bulk of what happened over here. So not a lot of damage done, a lot of positioning. There's some pinned units over here on this side of the table, which is kind of been a theme for this game. But we'll see. Scott still has some active units over here. He can get a counter punch going in. So we'll be back in the flesh, see how it plays out for the top of turn 6. We are back for top of turn 6 for the Americans. Pretty decent turn here. It's pretty active. So Scott has no more reserves coming on the table at this point. Everybody's kind of in right now. So what ended up happening here for this turn was these guys were pinned. They're unpinned now. We'll get to that. These guys over here, they pushed up with 2 orders and got into the woods over there. The M20 that was here was able to fire down, do 3 casualties on that 5-man squad there, and then drove up the street a little bit to kind of protect themselves. Down over here, the medium machine gun team tried to fire down, failed to do any damage on those guys over there. Over here, between the Sherman and the bazooka, they had 3 hits on the Stug, failed to get pins on the first 2. The third one, they needed an 8, rolled an 8. It was enough to pin the unit. Vin ended up passing his morale. There's a unit within 10 inches right there, so these guys are not going to abandon the vehicle. The guys that were in the woods here, the 2-man team, Scott's going to try to run them off the back, so they're not just going to be a chit pull for later in the game. Back over here, as you guys can see, these guys are unpinned as well as the M10. Scott did pull a chit at the end of the turn. He ended up rolling a 3, so he pulled those 3 guys there. And that's like at the beginning of the turn, he tried to do tactical coordination with the forward HQ, but failed on the actual roll. I think he rolled like a 2 to unpin one of the units that were up here on the table. So that's what we're looking at right now for the top of turn 6. Coming back in a second for bottom of turn 6 for the Jerrys. Vin got, what, 1 active tank. Pack 40 coming up, second wave over there, and the buildings over in the middle are still held. So we'll be back in a flash. So we are back for bottom of turn 6 for the Jerrys. Pretty eventful turn for this one. So Vin, how many orders do you have?
7.
Vin had 7 orders on this one. Surprisingly, didn't do a barrage. But so what ended up happening here was Vin put these guys in ambush. We'll get to the breakdown in a second. Over here, you guys see the M20 got blown up. Vin had a Faust up there. It was able to fire down, take out the M20. So that started off pretty good for Vin. Back over here, the Stug actually fired into the Sherman, was able to blow it up. Scott pulled a chit for it, and that led to the breakdown being played over here. The tank is just immobilized, but the way the range of fire works, I don't think he's going to be able to cover the side of this table over here. We still haven't measured for it yet. The rifle team that was over here was actually trying. They came over and tried to assault these guys, but they were shot down to a man in the assault. The machine gun fire from this building was enough to go in and kill the rifle team that was in the first floor over here, and they all end up getting shot up over there. Down here, that rifle team over there tried to pin both of these guys. Scott was actually able to make the cover save for the bazooka team, and they are not pinned, or maybe it was the command team, and the other attempt actually failed. So that's what ended up happening here. So Vin got some armor off the table, which is kind of big, but like I said, there's still the M10 left, and there's still some pretty decent chunks of infantry pushing up the table. So we'll see what happens coming back for the top of turn 7. So we are back for top of turn 7 right now. So for the Yanks, everybody's already on the table. Scott had enough of orders to, I think, get everybody active over here. Pretty eventful turn, some pretty good stuff. So the M10 that was over here, right over there, pushed up. Vin had the Pack 40 in ambush and the Stug in ambush. The Stug couldn't get a shot because he's immobilized right now, but the Pack 40 is able to fire down and missed on his opportunity to do anything. In the M10 fired over. Did you get it? You got a hit on him, or did you miss?
Missed.
You missed, yeah. So he missed. So the Stug's just broken down, no ambush. But that's because when after that happened, he fired down into the building over here and missed 2 HE shells to fire into the building. So all the ambushes on this side are done. After that was resolved, Scott informed us that he's been hitting gold with the birds coming in. So P-47 he had set up between the building and the hedges here. Vin just happened to be waltzing up the road with some of his Jerrys. And Scott on his 4 dice got a direct hit and 2 pins. It was enough to blow up the rifle team, and they broke. And then the other team lost a guy, and they are pinned. These guys over here were unfazed by it, but they just saw a bunch of people blow up, so they're probably not too happy. Down over here, there was that rifle squad and the BAR team. They both pushed up. They're both in the building here. We just haven't put them in just for functionality's sake. These guys needed 2 moves to get into this building. The rifle team that was over here, they moved into the 2nd floor. They were able to pin the machine gun team over here. Back over here, platoon command and the medium machine gun team were able to fire down and kill 4 of the 6 guys from platoon command over there. But in the process, Vin passed his beyond the call of duty test, was able to unpin, returned fire on the bazooka, but was unable to pin them. The bazooka team then fired 2 shots into the Stug. They got a hit, but the story of the game for Scott's been, gets the hit, but he can't get the penetration on there. We are like 1 for 5 or 1 for 6, I think, at this point. So the Stug is still active. Vin ended up passing his test to not get the unit pinned over there. So that's what we're looking at right now. Like I said, the Americans have control of this building here, and they're starting to make the push. Vin got a lot of units pinned over there and a lot of open ground. So we'll kind of see how this plays out in a second, going into the bottom of turn 7. Like I said, those objectives are still in play as well. Like I said, the hotel's still over there, and the courtyard over here. So we'll see. It's going to get chippy here. Remember, we're only going 9 turns, so we'll be back in a flash. So we are back for bottom of turn 7 for the Germans. This turn, there's a couple casualties handed out and some missed opportunities. So in the back, the Pack 40, Vince scooted over, attempted to fire 1 shot down here at the M10, but that did not work out as planned. Up over here, the Stug fired 2 HE rounds in the building here, failed to do anything with that. He's down, I think, 1 shot left over there. Up over here, the rifle team fired down, was able to do a couple casualties and pin this BAR team that freshly moved into the house over there. And then Vin used his forward HQ to spot a round in that scattered over to here. It was enough to pin 1 team, and then the other 2 teams ended up getting out of it pretty easily. Down over here, Vin used the 2 guys left from that squad to fire down. They almost ended up pinning the bazooka team, but Scott made his save. And then the Stug failed to observe the infantry twice in the grass over there, so it was a dodged bullet right there. I'm trying to think any other kind of shooting that went on. Nothing really. Everybody kind of stayed put in the back. Vin moved up his 1 machine gun team over here, and then also at the end of the turn, Vin pulled the chit and unpinned everybody's unpinned now, right? Yeah, everybody's now unpinned. So that's what we're looking at right now, going to the top of turn 8. Remember, this mission ends at the end of turn 9, so 2 more turns. I don't know, man. It's getting chippy. We'll see what ends up happening here. We'll be back in a flash. So we are back for top of turn 8. It's getting nitty and gritty in this one, man. So for this turn, a lot of attempts to pin and kill on this one. Over here, there's 1 active team down here. They were able to fire up with the M10. So both of these units that were in here fired up. They were able to kill 3 guys in here, and they had the unit pinned, but Vin ended up passing it beyond the Call of Duty test and was able to activate them with 2 guys left. They fired down to the BAR team over here and weren't able to get any results on that. Over here, since these guys have now broken, they're killed off the table with machine gun fire. They had a loader team, so the open fire order, and then Scott ended up passing his 5 up with that last volley of fire, was able to kill those guys and get them to break off the table. Scott then tried to pin these guys, needed a 6 up, failed to do so, but if he would have, these guys would be captured. The bazooka team, since all they have is 2 rifle shots left, they kind of fell back. They're out of ammo over there. I think that's really all that kind of happened here, isn't it, guys? I mean, for the most part, it was, just a lot of peppering going into there. Scott did pull an extra chit to unpin the unit, so all the rifle teams here are unpinned. Engineers are now unpinned, and everybody's active and back in the fight. So we'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 8. I don't know, man. We'll see what's happening here. This is close on both sides. These guys have been pulling a lot of shit, so we'll see what happens here. Who's going to break first, or maybe Vin will just hold on. So we'll be back in a second. All right, so we're back for the bottom of turn 8 here for the Germans. This has just been an absolute bloodbath. So for this turn, not a ton going on, but we'll go over it anyway. So the Pack 40 down here tried to fire down and ended up missing on the M10 over here. The Stug fired machine guns and 1 HE round. Failed to do any casualties here, but some small arms fire from the machine gun here, and the remainder of that rifle team was able to pin and do a wound over here on the BAR team that was over there. Vin also dropped a bombardment that landed up over here. It was enough to kill 1 engineer and then kill another engineer and pin these guys over here. There's like 2 direct hits and a pin. So actually no, it was more kills on this because I didn't think it was possible, but Scott ran out of dead guy markers. We used the entire set, so it's pretty ridiculous. Yeah. Also over here, the BAR team up here, they ended up breaking and Scott had to pull a chit for them. The Stug over there was able to observe, fire down. Vin got 5 hits with machine gun fire, and then there's 5 failed saves, so platoon command ended up breaking. That's pretty much what happened here. There was a machine gun team back there that pushed up and supporting this building over here. Like I said, I mean, right now, both of these guys are on the ropes as far as battle rating goes. It's really going to come down to like last turn and who can withstand the most punishment. So we'll be back in a second. Turn 9. This is the end of the show, so we'll be back in a flash. We are back for the top of turn 9. Some risks were taken here. So Scott rolled enough orders to kind of activate everybody that was left on the table over here. So as you can see, the machine gun team was pushed up to here. They had 1 attempt to try to pin the Stug, and they would have been able to capture it, but that ended up falling through. Back down over here, the engineer team and the forward HQ, they both pushed up to this point in their respective turns, and they fired down and trying to get a break to get a morale test and a wound on that middle building. There's only 2 guys left, and they failed to get anything. I think Vin made 1 save on his attempt over there. Over here, the BAR team was pinned. This rifle team was pinned. And then down here, the M10 passed up on the Stug shot to try to get the machine gun fire down here. They failed their first attempt to observe. Their second attempt to observe ended up passing. They got 1 hit, and Vin ended up making his save to keep those guys in the fight. So we're going to be going into the bottom of turn 9. Instead of just peeling back his forces, Vin's going to go for the break. I think he wants the knockout, not the decision victory. So we'll be back in a second for bottom of turn 9 for the Germans. So we are back for the end of turn 9. This might have been the best ending I think we've had on the channel, like either ever or definitely within the discussion. Jeez. All right. So for this turn, Vin dumped an insane amount of machine gun fire from over here. There was the 3 teams over here. You had the Stug. They all fired down. They were able to kill the BAR team here, which forced a chip pull. So Scott got to within 1. He was at battle rating 29 pulled, so he had 1 left active. Vin then dropped a mortar over here. It was enough to pin, and I think it was pin and kill 1 guy off of here, and it kept these guys pinned over here. They were in the building. And then on Vin's last volley of fire, I believe it was, fired in there. They were able to break this rifle team. Scott pulled the chit, and we were joking about the entire turn. Like, last chit's going to be Mind Strike, and that's going to switch the game, and lo and behold, Scott pulled Mind Strike. Scott rolled a 6, blew up the Stug. Vin pulled a 3, and it was enough to break the Germans. Ridiculous ending. A round of applause to Vin, though, because Vin could have just stayed down and not done anything, but he tried to shoot and win with the knockout blow. And, of course, sometimes when you go swinging for the fences, you catch one on the chin yourself, and that's what happened here.
Well, you don't want it to be a boring ending.
No, yeah, you don't, and this was totally amazing. So we'll be back in a second to kind of talk how this one played out. So we'll be back for the ending game recap. So we're back for the end of game recap for this one. And as you guys can see, we were talking about this off camera a little bit. The amount of dead infantry like all over the table, and
there's not even enough to actually cover.
We needed another dozen or so.
Yeah, we needed another like 12 chits or so for all of this here. It's like it was bloody. I think Scott's American infantry platoon, they got killed to a man. The only thing that really survived was some of the support stuff that you could see on the table over here. I mean, just if infantry was getting hit between the artillery barrages and machine gun fire, I mean, they were just getting peeled off left and right. And this is probably the worst I've ever seen artillery go for somebody. I mean, Vin was hitting. You didn't fail 1 comms test the whole game.
And it failed 1 comms test, and I think all but 1 or 2 weren't 6s to kill people.
Yeah. Vin had, I think pretty much every roll, Vin had at least 1 6 to do damage on infantry. And then his time strike over here was just devastating. But also the flip side of that was, Scott's 2 airstrikes. I mean, they were enough to blow up a Stug and then do a bunch of wounds and pin guys on the backside of the table. So, artillery and planes this game, they were I think one of the most devastating things on the table. And then just small arms fire in general. But I don't know, what do you guys like, Vin? What do you think about as far as how this one played out? Besides the amount of carnage that happened on the table and the ending to go with it.
Oh, it was awesome. Battle plan. I literally based everything, I'm sure you might have noticed, was right off of the bat when you saw me moving all the tanks forward. It was literally just depending on this to pin everything and just push forward and stop him dead in his tracks and just hold on as long as I could. That was pretty much the
play off the first artillery strike.
Yeah, and just kind of keep that.
It worked out
aggression.
it worked out pretty good as far as how that Stug over there. I don't know how he hung in as long as he did. I mean.
Oh, yeah, that was...
Yeah, you put him out there, and he held his own over there. But yeah, I think the defense went pretty good. Like I said, I know for Scott, too, man, you pushed so many bodies up the table, and then, just getting to here.
That was the kill box.
It was, this was the kill box.
I don't think I was ever going to get the objectives. I think I was always just going to break you.
Yeah, I think,
I don't think it was possible, really.
Yeah,
too much terrain, too much covering fire.
Yeah, it worked out, yes, and that artillery, man. Like, we were talking about it, too, like, for a 400-point game, if you take off-table artillery, I mean, it's like roughly 25% of your points that get sunk into it, so if they don't pan out, or if people got, like, counter batteries, it could really hurt, but, like, this game right here, I mean, they did, I feel like it was like 50% of the damage on the table came from artillery fire, and, it was great.
And you had, just the 2 planes, right?
The 2 plane, and then...
I even bought in the anti-bombardment?
The counter battery, just in case. Yeah, so I think like it goes back to like the strategic discussion when you're building your list. Like, for under 500 points, you drop in an off-table battery that costs like roughly,
90.
Yeah, roughly 90 to 100 points. I mean, it's a gamble, but like Vin hit all of his comms tests, and that made a huge difference as far as slowing down the infantry push. I mean, if you look on the first third of the table, I mean, it's just bodies everywhere. And then by the time you get to halfway, I mean, just even more. It was just, the artillery was devastating. But I hope you guys like this game. I can't believe it ended on a Mind Strike. That's absolutely ridiculous.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is pretty good. So yeah, we'll be back again soon. Play some more games. We'll probably do a little bit more late war before we jump back into Barbarossa going early on. I got some stuff coming in the mail too that we're gonna get set up for the early war campaigns. So thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, check out Patreon and Facebook, and we'll catch you guys later.